Welcome to the Freedom Hustles podcast, where host John and Andy take you on a journey of liberation away from the 9-to-5 grind. Explore side hustles, remote work, and the skills to help you unlock true freedom. Brought to you by freedomskillsacademy.com, this podcast is your gateway to independence and financial empowerment.
Boy, okay, so episode 62. Apologies for the blurred background. There's a lot of movement and a lot of decorating going on in our house at the moment. It's a bit of a building site. So this office where we're recording, there's like beds and furniture and everything behind me. So I thought I'd blow it out. Anyway, how you doing, Andy? You all right?
I'm not too bad, mate. Not too bad. How's yourself, apart from obviously being living on a building site?
Snowed under, DIY, doing all the
Lots of painting.
And we've had quite a bit done. Anyway, you went away, didn't you? So currently where I am in the UK, it's really nice weather today. We've had about 19, 20 degrees. But you're in Portugal and you came back to the UK, didn't you?
Yep.
And then now you're back in Portugal, is that right?
I am, and the temperatures here are about the high 20s.
Ooh.
At the moment. It's gone really crazy because before I went to the UK, temperatures were quite cold. The Portuguese houses are notoriously cold. Here, you're cold inside, you go outside, it's warm. In the UK, in winter, you're warm inside, and you go outside, it's cold. It's really sort of strange. So I went back to the UK. It was nice weather, but like I say, now I've come back here, and suddenly the temperatures it's sweating. So it's warm.
Anyway, episode 62. So tonight we're talking a little bit about habits.
Yep.
And the forming of habits. Okay. So what do we mean by that? So there's the saying in there that goes, I think I've read it a few times, which is you can form any habit in 30 days. That's a little bit vague, obviously, but what they essentially mean is if you keep doing something repetitively over and over again, your brain eventually it basically adjusts to it as it becoming like the norm. So that now is a normal thing that you just do. Okay. You don't have to think about doing it. You don't have to maybe, you don't moan about doing it. You just do it. It just becomes a habit. Okay. And obviously there's good and bad habits. You can pick up bad habits, smoking, drinking, eating too much, eating bad, I don't know, lounging around, not doing anything, procrastination, all those type of things could be seen as like bad habits. And then you've got the flip side where you flip it around and then almost like the opposite of all of those things that I've just listed there. So,
using the word flip is interesting because you've just you've gone on to said something about the 30-day. Now I believe, and I heard this was I think it was Jack Canfield did this many years ago on a podcast or a audio recording I'd heard, and they talked about the NASA experiment where they had astronauts. I don't know if these were down here on Earth or up in space or whatever on the shuttle, but they had them wear glasses for it was over 30 days, so they had them wear these glasses. So basically it flipped the image. So where you're looking now at the image, as you're seeing the laptop is up this way, it made it upside down. And so they had to wear these glasses, and they were basically doing this experiment, and it was roughly around the 30-day period where the brain just went and it flipped the image back to normal, even though they were wearing these glasses. So the brain had adapted to the point where it thought we need to flip it. And so then once I think they took the glasses off, and then it took another 30 days or something to flip back or whatever it was, whatever they did. And so that was the experiment. I think that's where the 30-day concept comes from, is that it takes the brain 30 days to wire into something sort of new or something more concrete. Well, going back to what you said about bad habits, I think bad habits are easier to create than good habits.
Yeah.
Mainly because bad habits are seductive and it's a combination of ego and I suppose taste. Like it's very hard to give up eating pizza because you love pizza. It's harder to eat healthier than it is to stop eating yeah, it's easier to start eating bad food because you enjoy bad food. But if you don't enjoy eating healthy food, it takes a lot more effort to create that habit. So it is a lot harder, I think, in my opinion, anyway. That to try and get a good habit is harder than a bad habit.
Yeah, 100%. So we'll talk a little bit more about later on in the podcast how we've kind of have in this type of industry. So the game that we're in, like the sort of if you're freelancing, or if you're trying to create and sell digital products, or if you're building websites, or if you want to build any kind of online business, really, you definitely need to really, really grasp the concept of creating good habits, because there's going to be a lot of stuff that you're going to do almost over and over again. There's going to be a lot of, it might feel like repetition, but there's going to be a lot of things that you're going to have to do. And these are what I call like your drills. A basketball player would assign these as sort of like taking free throws. You might take 1,000 every couple of days or something like that. And the reason he's doing that is for in one match situation where he needs to pull off that shot or something like that. Do you know what I mean? Number one, a classic one is David Beckham, former England player. He used to stay behind after training and take free kicks, right, for hours on end. Just take free kicks. That was all he was doing. He just literally practiced free kick, free kick, free kick, free kick, free kick. And then obviously he's kind of become famous for sort of like match winning free kicks, or, like really important free kicks. Now, that didn't just happen on that one time. That happened because he put the hours in and he put the drill in. And that would have all started from a habit. It would have all started from like, I'll just stay behind once this week. And then it would have been twice. Then it would have been doing it every day. And then all of a sudden he's just doing it because that's what he does. Yeah. And so in like in the, what we do here, you need to get into these habits, especially around content creation, I think, don't you?
I put this down to what I call the double D factor, or it's basically two double D. It is a double D factor, but the biggest D out of that probably is the word decision. But the double D is decision and discipline. So lots of people always mix up this idea that they need motivation, or I'll do it when I feel like it, or I'm motivated. Athletes who want to be, like you say, top footballers, or they want to be the Olympian goal winnings, swimmer, they have to get up every day and go and do their exercise. They stay behind the extra couple of hours to practice the free kicks, and they may not actually feel like it, but they have made a decision to do that. And I often think that is the hardest, the most powerful thing, is they've made a decision. This is what I'm going to do. And then they have the discipline to stick with it. And I actually think discipline is reinforced by the decision. The two go hand in hand. But if you want something, then you have to decide, right, that's what I'm going to do. And I just feel that making a decision is often the seed for creating that better habit, because there's lots of people who say, well, I should do this or I should do that, and I really want to lose weight, or I want to do this. But it's once you've said, right, that's it, I am going to, you made that decision, then I think habits have a far greater chance of basically becoming part of your life because you've made that decision.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, another one of my personal ones that I chose to do, which was about 19 months now, I think, I made the decision to just quit alcohol completely. And there was a sort of a reason behind it, but I didn't. There was a medical reason behind it. But then after that had subsided, I could have quite easily gone back to just, having a pint of Guinness, and I played darts, so I like a beer and that, and I could have quite easily just gone back to that. But I made the decision that I'm not going to. I'm just going to. I felt so much better without it, so I made the decision to just stop completely. And again, that was just a take it each day. You start off just doing days. It's not really a big deal because I wouldn't, an alcoholic or anything like that. But then you do a week, and then after a week you've done 2 weeks, and then before you know it, you've done a month. Once you've done a month, you're kind of there. Do you know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
was like, well, now it doesn't affect me in any way at all. I've been to a few events where I'd have normally had a beer and I didn't, so I know I can do that. There was no reason now to just sort of just go back, and so I was like, well, I'll just see how long I can do it for. And now it's just almost like I don't even think about it now. You know, if I go to a darts event on a Monday night, I'm not thinking, oh, I can't wait and have a beer when I get there. It's not even in my train of thought anymore. It doesn't even enter my thinking. So that's been created, and now your mind and my mind, it's become completely normalized. You know, and that's
Yeah. I don't know if they teach this at. I've never been to Alcoholics Anonymous or anywhere like that, but I'm not sure if, like what you said, there is what they talk about. It's a bit like your baby steps idea. I mean, you say that, let's say you want to do 6 months without meat or alcohol, or you want to do 6 months of content.
Mm.
You look at it in that big chunk, it's like, wow, 6 months is a lot. So it's like when you do your planning, like you've probably got your journal, you do your 6 month plan, then you do like your 3 month plan, your 1 week plan, then you do your daily plan.
Mm.
So you have your 6 months plan, that's your goal. And you think, right, I want to do that for the next 6 months. But once you made that decision, you then make obviously another decision, and that is to focus only on today.
Yeah.
You get today out of the way, and then you wake up in the morning, you start again. Your focus, your main aim then is it's far easier to do a day than it is to do 6 months or a year, isn't it? Even though you know that's what your goal is, your focus, that's what you've decided you're going to do that. But once you've done that, the best thing is just to focus on not smoking the cigarette at lunch break, is to not smoke the cigarette at dinner. And you just sort of break it down. And then, like you say, once you've done 7 days, you look back and you go, my God, I've done a week.
Yeah.
I've done a week of writing emails, or I've done a week of recording TikTok videos. You just sort of that. Then once you've looked back and you see that you've done 7 days, 2 weeks, a month, your confidence then as well is also, you've got something to celebrate, as well as, like you say, now you've gone through the resistance, you've seen how easy it is or how easy it was to do, and then you've basically, hopefully, then by then you've formed a positive habit.
That's right. Yeah. And I mean, as well, I mean, I don't know where people are listening from on this podcast, but for us, I mean, we're residents of the UK. I know you live in Portugal, but so we know that, you know, the UK now is becoming quite a bad place to live. And I don't mean that too negative. There is obviously some great things about it, but it's not, you know, it's had better days, put it that way. But and so I mean, and you know, I just want to reach out to people and just, you've got two choices. You can either make a change and try and do something a bit different, or just be like everyone else. And why would you want to just be like everyone else? Because that's how kind of gloomy it kind of is at the minute. You know, you can either just follow the masses, right, which is usually a sad is quite often lazy. You know, they won't take up anything. You know, like if we're talking about this sort of stuff, they'll probably give up after a week or two. They won't see it through. They'll make up excuses, and that's the easiest thing to do, is just make up excuses. Unless you've got a health problem, then I don't really see the excuses. They're not necessarily warranted. In my view, there's always ways around stuff. We're not saying you're the same, you can be exactly the same as everyone else, but there's always usually a way, right? If you want something bad enough, you can usually, you know, try and get towards it. You may not get there, but why would you not try? Do you know what I mean? You may not get there, but why would you not try? And if that means getting up, or if that means spending an hour a day writing your blog, or spending an hour creating videos for a product, or spending an hour creating TikTok videos, or whatever it is you're doing, why would you not do that? Why would you not find that time and just put that little shift in and just keep on going and just repeat? We do this podcast every week. Now, you look at our podcast numbers and some people might go, why are you doing that? some of the ones we share on YouTube, some of them don't get very many hits at all. Yeah, they might only get seen by a handful of people, 15, 20 views, 100 views. But some of them do okay. Some of them we share on Spotify. Well, they all get shared on Spotify and they all get shared across all the other social media platforms. But more importantly, it's creating a habit that me and you will do this every week. So we turn up, we do this podcast. Last week, when you were when you were flying back to from Portugal back to the UK, it was a
Yeah.
bit tricky, wasn't it? We were sort of, I don't know how we're going to do it. So we just filmed two in one night and then chopped it up. And then we just, made it into two podcasts. But
That's it, because we've made this decision to do the podcast. So the idea of not doing it was kind of like, oh, it was a bit of we want to get that podcast done, so we decided to make sure we did two, so that you could get it edited and posted while I was having a jolly back in the UK.
Well, exactly, yeah. And it's become and that's just one thing of our little business that we run that we sort of do. Do you know what I mean? It's sort of like a second nature thing now. We'll be chatting in the week, we'll be working on our own individual stuff that we're doing. And then usually one of us will ping up, oh, tonight podcast. Oh yeah, okay, yeah, I'll see you at 6 or whatever. And then we record it and I'll go off and do the edit. While I'm doing the edit, you'll write the newsletters for the week's emails. And it's sort of like secondary nature now, isn't it? We don't even have to discuss it anymore. It's just done.
I was writing one of the newsletters before you sent the message through, so it's perfect example. Yeah, but I mean, it is. I mean, it's also. I know it's not necessarily about habits itself, but the reason why we do these sort of things, like you said, why people say, "Why do you do that?" Because we once talked about how when you're sat with the girls, when you're waiting for the girls who are dancing or doing something else, you're playing on your phone. Sometimes just doing these little 10-minute things, these 10-minute little jobs, could be the difference between staying where you are and your life changing in ways you've never expected. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So doing this podcast, yes, we don't have huge numbers. I mean, it's interesting you said that. I was watching a short TikTok video today, or it was on Facebook stories of an internet marketer, and he was doing a comparison. Funny dog video, 486 million views, and this other video had been X amount of millions of views. And then there was his video showing people how to make money online, 68 views. And it was like, there's a strange balance here somewhere. But even though they have these low numbers, you're getting out there, you're doing stuff, you're putting yourself out there, and eventually someone or somebody is either going to contact you regarding something, or they probably even buy something from you. And it's just that little bit of effort that is sort of life-changing. And that is the same with sort of all habits, like we talked about, whether it's cutting down on your carbs, whether it's cutting back on smoking, whether it's going for a walk, or whether it's all these little habits, or all this, when you're building up these habits, these little bits are all compounding. They are going to build on themselves. So, you could do 5 minutes walk today, might seem like nothing, but 5-minute walks each day, once you've got that habit down and you're doing a 5-minute walk every day, that's 365 days of 5 minutes walking exercise that you probably never had before. That's going to do your health a world of good. You know what I mean? It's so these little habits, people say, well, why do you bother? Or, it's, I can't be bothered myself, but you've got to recognize that sometimes changing these habits and trying to create new habits is it's life affirming, and it can also be life changing.
One of the I'll see if I can find it, but if I do, I'll drop a link in below. But one of the little TikTok accounts that I followed last year was a guy. He's an American guy, and he was getting in to do an ice bath every morning. Okay. And he done it for free. And the channel was, I'm going to do an ice bath for 365 days. So he was going to do one every day for the whole year. And a lot of people are banging into that at the moment, this ice bath. There's a book I've read called Wim Hof.
Wim Hof. Everybody but me, I'm not into it.
Yeah, see, no. But I read the book. It's quite an interesting take on life. But anyway, so this guy was saying, I'll do one every day for and I'll just document the whole thing. So I didn't go back to it early because I wasn't obviously following him on like the early days, but his account went mental, right? So and the only reason it done that is because he was turning up every single day. The first video he shot, I would imagine, probably wasn't that big a deal. Do you know what I mean? He might have had a few people go, "What the hell are you doing?" But then he started doing it every day, and people, not only were people following him because they were interested in his progress, but he also then would start talking. So he'd get in his ice bath, and then he'd just maybe, because you can't stay in them long, right? He'd maybe do in there for like, I don't know, 30 seconds. But he would talk, he would just do like a positive quote or a little bit of wisdom that he had read the night before or something like that. And he would just talk about that. So then people started resonating with the message, right? And his account went absolutely mental. He got something like, I don't know what it was, but millions, put it that way, millions of followers on this account. And all he was doing was every day. I expect that whole thing took him maybe 5 minutes every morning to get up, to prepare that, to get in it, to talk to the camera, and then to get back out and then to whatever he did and upload it. And now he's got millions and millions of followers on TikTok. He can create a brand around that. He's probably got sponsorship deals. I don't know how. He's almost certainly going to be monetizing that. And yeah, so there you go. And that was purely just a habit that he formed. And some mornings, like you say, he was getting up and it was like -5 anyway. And he was like, right, it's -5. And now I'm going to get in an ice bath, like a maniac. But like, he was doing it, and fair play,
He's made the decision and he's sticking with that decision, using the discipline.
Yeah, because he would let people down. People were expecting it. They were going to watch him the next morning. And
I mean, that's the good thing about the YouTube channel. Obviously, all those people now, he's got a purpose and an accountability, which also helps reinforce the discipline. Because when people are doing things alone, it's very hard to keep at. You have to be very, very strong-willed, strong mentally, disciplined. You have to make a decision and know that that's what you're going to do. But yeah, when you've got like millions of people who are counting on you, it kind of takes the edge off. I suppose, when you feel like you don't want to do it, but then you've got millions of people and you're like, well, you know what I mean? That will make it a lot easier. But I mean, crikey, we would love 1 million viewers, wouldn't we, on 1 million followers?
That's what I mean. But I mean, yeah, I was just amazed that, like you say, he just kept on going. And yeah, that was a really
I won't be climbing to an ice bath for the podcast, though, anytime soon, I don't think.
Yeah, certain type of individual. I have tried it, not the bath. I've tried the ice showers, and I got okay with that for a little bit. But yeah, wasn't for me in the end.
See, I'm the opposite. I tend to turn the showers up so I can feel warm, and I just stand there. It's like I love the warmth.
Maybe the electricity bill is not too bad over there. I've done it for that reason as well, because it was costing too much.
I don't like cold air. So I don't like cold on my skin. So the idea of having a cold shower, I have tried the cold shower, but as soon as you turn it down, it's like, no, it's not at all pleasurable, and I don't have the discipline or this decision to carry on with that.
That's it, exactly. So if you don't think it's going to make any impact on your life, then it's definitely, obviously, it's clearly not a thing that you should be thinking about. But yeah. Okay, well, yeah, I mean, that was a good little chat. I think we'll wrap it up there. So, I mean, the general sort of summary of this is, if you think it's worth doing, and if it is, certainly from like trying to flip this round again to like the online business sort of world, you will need to form some good ones. Simple as that. You will need to form some good habits. There's going to be a lot of repetition. There's going to be a lot of doing stuff. There's going to be a lot of showing up when you don't want to. There's going to be a lot of showing up with not many views and not many, no response. But these are the early steps, and that are really, really important. Everyone starts from zero, and everyone starts from the same place. We've talked about that before. Maybe not budget wise, maybe not everything else, but the majority of people, should we say, they do kind of start from the same place, and you have to just keep going, really.
Quickly, just You just made me think of something quick before we finish, and that is, I remember that article I shared with you the other day about the guy who started a newsletter on Substack about finance, or male or female, I don't know what it was. It was a faceless channel, and they were basically just short of $1 million earned from their new newsletter within 6 months. And they had a plan. They made a decision, and they'd created this habit of posting to Twitter every hour for 24 hours a day for basically that 6 months. So they made this decision, and that was what they were doing every hour, on the hour, throughout the day on Twitter. They would post, and they started on LinkedIn, whatever, and they were directing people to their landing page or whatever, and they built up this newsletter.
They pretty much built the whole thing from Twitter, didn't they? Their whole marketing strategy was.
It was originally, yeah, and they swapped to LinkedIn, but that's a different story altogether. But basically, they started on Twitter, and that was their plan, and they stuck with that. And so that was a decision they made, and they formed that habit of making sure they posted every hour. I mean, obviously, some of it must have been automated, but you imagine that's actually quite a punishing. It's a sort of a grueling schedule, isn't it, to be doing that? But they made that decision, they built that habit, and that habit then created this business where they were able to leave their job, and they had just shy of $1 million within 6 months because of their newsletter.
Yeah, that's incredible.
So that's the power of creating habits.
That is incredible. That's a big part of it, I think. If you're going to do any form of social media, you need some strong discipline in that arena, because you cannot just show up once a week. It just does not work.
No.
You do need to literally be showing up daily. And that is a big thing. That's a big killer for a lot of people. That is what puts people off. But essentially, the people that will carry on and just keep going, they'll be the ones that will shine through in the end. But
yeah, I mean, twice a day is fine. You probably won't get your $1 million within 6 months, but you'll get something.
Just regularly,
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, well, yeah. I think we'll leave it at that. Thanks very much for listening, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you very much, and goodbye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Freedom Hustles podcast. We hope you found inspiration and insights to help fuel your journey towards freedom. Don't forget to join our free newsletter at freedomskillsacademy.com/newsletter, where you can find exclusive tips, updates, and resources to help elevate your hustle. Until next time, keep hustling towards your dreams.